Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Capricorny Couple weekly show. We are still doing the Enneagram series. And for the past week, we have requested people send us questions, since you all have so many great, awesome questions. So go ahead and ask us questions. If you have any, if you want to come on to the show, we could probably do that. You can ask directly. And let's make it happen. And in the meantime, Fabian would like to share a little bit about something he's working on.
Yeah, look, we got the StreamYard thing. It's super easy to bring people on the show and talk to you. And I know lots of people go, oh, it's here. Look, if you want to come on and talk,
do it.
Let's talk about the Enneagram.
I just literally taught a yoga class.
Ask us anything.
From it, so.
But if you do want to ask anything and not come on, you can still leave a comment.
Yeah,
okay?
Leave a comment. We'll answer any questions you have about the Enneagram specifically or your type. If you know your type. If you don't know your type, there's tons of online tests, although I do recommend that you have a session with Fabian to help you figure out your type.
Yeah, and some of you have actually done that from the show, which I appreciate. We've talked about the Enneagram for 5 weeks straight now. I had like a prologue, then an intro, and then 3 weeks going over the basic subconscious fears. So you can go back on our Facebook pages to see that. I'll just start streaming straight to YouTube also. But
might as well.
Yeah. So you can rewatch these things and
yeah, especially if you discover your type and you want to know more about your type. We covered all 9 types in the past 3 episodes that we did.
Yeah.
The past 3 weeks.
All right. Well, let me take a moment to do a little promo before we get to any questions. I haven't seen anything pop up in comments yet. And if it's anything about work you know that we do or about what I'm about to share with you, you can ask about this. But I just created a new flagship journaling course. And by flagship, I mean this is the 1-month group journaling course. It's starting September 20th, but eventually be available just as an evergreen course recurringly that I put together. Now I've been teaching 5 years now professionally. This is the journaling course I've written where I'm finally like, boom. If I want people to understand what a journaling practice can be and what an intimate relationship with oneself can be and how it can pay off in our life and really be a catalyst for spiritual work, this is it.
Yes.
And it's on the screen already. You can see it is called Journaling to Destiny. I need to take this down. And let's see, let me take this down too for a sec. Journaling to Destiny. If you go to the site, intuitiveintegrity.com/destiny, this is where it's at. Let's show that. And you see a little 1 minute 30 intro video from me, and then lots of things just about the course in general. And look, you know where to find me. I'm here. You can ask me questions on Facebook, anyone here. That's the, the beauty. We're open.
Yeah.
We really are. I mean, we get it that this is what we do for a living, but my God, I really want people who have ever had an inclination for expressive writing and journaling to get the full gist of how deep I really can take you with it.
Yeah.
And you can take yourself, and this is the course to do that. I'm so happy to have finished writing it and creating it.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
So thank you. Now, back to the Enneagram.
Back to the Enneagram. Since we don't have any questions yet, which is totally cool, I kind of like the idea of maybe even just talking a little bit about our types and how we have experienced, how we discovered our type.
Oh, sure.
What we've learned in the process of doing work with the Enneagram on ourselves. What do you think about that? That's a question. Since I'm technically the host of the show, I'm going to guide our questioning toward that. I want you to talk a little bit about how you discovered the Enneagram and then like what the process has been for you to do the work.
Well, first of all, I've been talking a lot lately because I'm more the Enneagram person.
Yes.
Cassandra the other day was like, all right, next round where I'm going to be more of the talker.
I'm going to be the talker. You can be the host.
Or the subject matter expert directly.
Yes.
This is a great question. I mean, I came across the Enneagram through this book and Don Rizzo, Russ Hudson, well-known Enneagram guys.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
No, what?
Even I'm learning. I didn't know that that's how you like came across the system from that
Well,
book.
let me finish my story.
Tell it.
The reason it was this book is because my good friend Kate Marshall had it, and we were hanging out on the beach in Santa Monica, and she's like, you know your Enneagram type? I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm a 7. So she busts out this book, and we get to talking, and this is one of the great gifts from a friend ever, but she's like, you're a type 6, you're not a type 7. And this is after years of studying Myers-Briggs, and I think I'm all cool with personality systems. So I read it, and I looked into it, and I was like, damn, I am a type 6. And I think a big takeaway from that moment is to be humble enough, I think, and open enough. And humility comes by first, I think, feeling a little shame.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I was wrong about myself, and and my friend was right. And people need to, I think it would be great if people got better at being like that with these moments. Because in spiritual work, it happens all the time. You have to be like, I was wrong about this. I was wrong about that. I was wrong about this.
Well, and that's part of.
But now I just have more information, and Kate helped me find more information through this book, and I was hooked because Myers-Briggs was lacking, and it's lacking in my opinion a lot of ways, but
I still love it.
This really lays out a path forward. It's like, this is what you've been doing to yourself with your ego. This is how you've been kind of fake with yourself. And I have journaled and done enough introspection up until my point in that life where I could just open up my journal and be like, oh my God, there are the thought patterns right there that this Enneagram has described. I really have been scared and a bit cowardly and setting lots of limitations on myself in the name of security. So that's how I came across it. Someone asked, they must be on my Journaling to Wholeness page.
That's a great question.
I don't know who it was, because the way Facebook works, by the way, if you just asked a question on Journaling to Wholeness, maybe type in your name in another comment. Because the way Facebook work, group permission for sharing is weird. So I can't see what your name is. But the question is, how does Enneagram affect dynamics in a romantic relationship? Well, this is what you just wanted to bring up with us, right? You just said, since we don't have anyone asking questions yet, we would talk about how we each came to it. But yeah.
In a romantic relationship, I mean, we can talk about how it affects us in our romantic relationship if you want.
Yeah. So like I just got finished explaining I'm a 6, and you've heard me talk about that a lot.
And I'm a 2.
If you've been following, and she's a 2. So one thing that's interesting about the Enneagram I read is an Enneagram practitioner said that Freud's psychology, Sigmund Freud's psychology, was very much through the lens of a male 6 analyzing the female 2 dynamic.
That's our dynamic.
So that's us, and that's
I don't know if that's necessarily our dynamic, but we have the potential of having that dynamic. So
the person thinking that Freud was a male 6 himself, as many kind of psychologists are, it would seem, or were, and looking at the hysteria, the emotional hysteria, which back then would have been labeled a feminine, woman-only phenomenon, emotional hysteria,
yes,
which is obviously sexist and ridiculous. Yes. At this point. We know that. So Freud was...
All genders can be hysterical.
Yeah, so Freud, the psychologist, is trying to analyze human psychology through the lens of, like, female hysteria. All right. I'm not saying that's true or not, but it's interesting because I am a male 6 and it's a female 2. So, go ahead.
I mean, I think that being a type 2 and being interested in helping people, whether that is coming from an authentic place inside of me or from, a fixated side of me, I think that that's really comforting, and I think it feels really good to type 6s to have somebody who's really interested in providing for needs, making sure needs are met. It's secure. It feels secure and it feels comforting, don't you think?
It is to have you do a lot for me, and I've dated a type 2 before who did a lot for me and was constantly searching my needs when I was especially very depressed and scared and just not doing as well. I'll just say that.
And the dynamic when we first started dating, especially before we've grown so much together in our relationship as people, then also together as a couple. So when we first started dating, we were more in a fixated place with our dynamic, where I would want to help him and he would be scared, and it would create this tension between us. And sometimes I would be overreaching with my help or with my desire to give to him. And it was from a place of, I want him to love me, so let me keep giving to him, and he, on the one hand, I think enjoyed that, but on the other hand, felt the cleanness of my energy and felt that it wasn't coming from a completely authentic place. It was coming from a manipulative place, ultimately. And I don't mean manipulative in a malevolent way. I just mean it in a fixated way, an ego way, like coming from a place of powerlessness inside of me, of wanting him to like me, basically. So over time, noticing that dynamic and seeing that, he said to me one time, it was a huge breakthrough for me. He said to me, I really just kind of want you to not care so much about me. Like, you really should just stop with that. And in the moment, of course, talk about shame, talk about humbling. It was like, oh, you don't want me to care so much about you. And so my little sassy ass was like, okay, fine, I will, and basically turned around and started just living my life and doing what I wanted to do. And then a few days later, I get a message from Fabian. He's like, where are you? Where did you go? And I guess the point of that story mostly is that we've had to learn about the way we fall into those patterns and into those responses and talk about them, really. I mean, that's ultimately what ends up happening, is we just speak them out to each other, and then, okay, this is really what I want or don't want, and then we figure it out.
So to answer the question directly, I mean, we just gave you an example of, so let me answer the question directly. How does it affect dynamics in a romantic relationship? With any relationship, you will step on each other's toes and trigger each other and do things that are completely unintentional. But unconscious people take it personally and react with ego, and conscious people are able to recognize the miscommunication that happened, communicate it back to the partner, and be like, oh, okay. Yeah. So whereas my old type 2 girlfriend triggered me, I now understood what was happening in that dynamic with Cassandra. And this is where people should be growing from their prior relationships. And now I knew, like, okay, I'm getting triggered. It's not personal. Let me just be honest about that with myself and with her. It was still plenty prickly in the beginning. Yeah, but we were conscious about it. So Enneagram can help. It's not that your precise Enneagram type somehow affects dynamics, but in general, knowing your type and being conscious of yourself and your triggers. And man, if you even knew your partner's type, you could understand what triggers them and heal each other, which I think a romantic relationship is about. That's how you grow together. You notice triggers and communicate them to your partner. And we just do it all the time.
All the time. I would say that we don't necessarily heal each other, but I think that we hold space for the healing to occur, and the intention is there that we are healing with each other. Okay, great. You can say that.
I do say that.
That's great. So in a romantic relationship, how does one's Enneagram affect it? It really is just a matter of how aware you are of your wounds, how aware you are. And what I mean by wounds is the things that really upset you when you were a kid that you still act out as an adult. Being really aware of that and talking through it with each other, of course.
Oops.
You said something, babe, about the unconscious people take it personally and things like that. What happens with people who are completely unaware of the way their ego runs them is it creates that's what we call toxic. That's what becomes toxic, because this person is triggered, then this person takes it personally, and then they say something that upsets the other person, and it just spirals into this toxic yuckiness where everyone's just react, ego, and it becomes very challenging because there's so many hurt feelings now to step outside of that toxic dynamic and then have a conversation like, hey, it would be really nice if you would pay more attention to yourself rather than me in our relationship. And, if when I was younger, if I'd heard that, and I think I did, even at one point, you said something like, I need space. And I said, God, that I feel like you're abandoning me. I feel like you're pushing me away. Like you don't want me around. And he was like, no, I really just want to go hang out with my buddy. And like,
I don't want really you around for a day or two.
Well, yeah, I don't want you around, but like, it's not like I want you never around. I'm not trying to get rid of you forever. I just want to do something with my friend without you. It's like, okay, cool. So now I'm going to go back and deal with whatever I got triggered about, feeling abandoned or whatever, on my own. And then he can go hang out with his friend and come back together when it seems right.
So let's go back to the subconscious fears of the type, right? So for 8, 9s, and 1s, this is the subconscious fear of letting go of the personality, which is part of spiritual growth and transformation, dropping the personality that is derived from the ego.
The masks.
And that can be very scary. And it pretty much is scary if you're doing it or starting it. If I let my guard down and relax into the flow of life, I will disappear. The familiar I will cease to exist. I cannot protect my sense of self. If I really let the world in and allow it to affect me, I will be overwhelmed and lose my freedom and independence. So already those types our intimacy can be scary because there's a potential loss of control.
And loss of sense of self.
So that is something for 8, 9s, and 1s to be conscious of. In type 1s, where the anger is directed inward and it's called resentment, if you just keep having arguments with a romantic partner and never like get to the root of it, or just keep skipping over it and sweeping it under the rug, resentment will build up. What happens after too much resentment builds up? Where type 1 might just say, nah, I'm done with you.
Cut off.
And cut you off, or just blow up angrily.
Yeah.
Now, either way, now you've just dug the hole deeper. And if no one's conscious of what's happening, then can't get resolved.
Then it becomes toxic.
It becomes toxic.
Or, what we call toxic.
Type 2s, which Cassandra's been talking about, might get clingier. She gets stressed out because I want space, and her unconscious response is, well, I just need to meet more of his needs. I have to meet more of his needs. And I'm like, stop trying to meet my needs.
Go meet your own needs.
Get out of my face.
Go meet your own needs. Like, I have needs too. Oh, I forgot about that.
So, yeah, Armando Hart says both he and Eve are 7s. I think that's totally correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, as far as I've noticed that there are, to go back to Zaris's original question about affecting dynamics in romantic relationship, 2 partners having the same type, I mean, you get along probably really well, and I bet there's some beautiful chemistry there, but then all of your pitfalls, it's kind of like being a bad influence on each other. Like all of your vices are the same.
Especially 7s who are hedonistic and moving and lots of outward energy. To get 2 7s to stop and slow down and be still, be sober, and sober can be a challenge.
And I don't mean sober just from drinking, but just from stimulation.
Yeah.
So in that case, I mean, I'd be curious to hear from Armando and Eve, like what you all think about.
Armando
maybe you're agreeing with that. Like
that we are correct.
The chemistry is great, but then also the vices get compacted.
Yeah, let's bring up the
vice.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, the compounding effect. You can.
I mean, I love being around type 2s, ones that are healthy, because I get to relax and someone's going to do something for me. Someone's going to meet my needs when I don't have to ask. Being around an unhealthy type 2 can be really exhausting, though.
Well, I'm putting up the subconscious fear of letting go of the personality, getting out of the ego game for 5. Since Armando just mentioned he and his wife type 7s. If I stop this strategy, if I stop figuring out what I need to do, the ground will not be there to support me. The world cannot be trusted. Without my mental activity, I will be left vulnerable. Everything will fall to pieces. I will fall and be lost. If my mind does not keep swimming, I will sink. So a lot of potential for a couple in the 5, 6, 7 range to really just keep worrying each other about worst case scenarios. Anxiety could probably anxiety can probably spiral out of control with two unconscious people of those type. But Armando and Eve aren't unconscious people, so I'm sure that Armando could tell us some very good stories about this. Casey says, I'm a very interesting fellow.
True.
I am. And you know what, Case? It's good as I appreciate you commenting. Here's my email address. Oh no, it's in the way.
Take your banner down.
How do I take this freaking banner down?
There you go.
Oh my God. This is killing me. This is really funny.
Comments.
StreamYard's got me. Well, you're here. I mean, you can contact me here. Thanks for saying I'm interesting. Hit me up, dude. I just was saying I got this badass journaling course coming up. It's not expensive. I'd love to see you in there, for real. I have to take a moment to mark it real quick. So back to this.
Oh, good. We'll get.
Armando says,
a bunch of stories.
Yeah, he has a bunch of stories. Maybe we can have you as a guest, Armando.
I would love that.
In fact, you want to come on? If you want to come on right now and share, let me know.
Shoot us a yes. We'd love to hear one of your stories.
Armando, I'm going to send you a Facebook message with a link to come on our show.
Cool. And
if you click it, great. If you don't,
Case,
catch you another time.
Case was just saying that he is more like me, so more type 2-ish, more of a people pleaser.
Yeah.
More of a conformist. I mean, not that I'm really a conformist, but that's.
I haven't seen him in a while, and I wasn't as hip to Enneagram back then. The times that he and I did hang out. He's a friend of my ex, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and was one of the people that showed me around New Orleans, which was epic. New Orleans, oh my goodness.
Awesome. Yeah. So
it's good to hear from you. I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you. So where were we?
Well, Zaris asked that question, which kind of took us on that little journey, which I think we answered it a bit.
Let's wrap this up real quick.
Okay.
Just remind everyone, subconscious fear of the last triad. If I stop identifying with this image of myself, my worthlessness will be revealed. So, in Cassandra's case, the image of herself was, I'm so giving.
I'm helpful.
But I asked her to stop doing that image of herself, and that triggered her because it made her feel worthless.
Like, well, then what good am I?
And I'm saying, I just want space. You're not worthless. I just want to go do something else.
Which maybe the type 2 hack is, that's how I can be helpful. I can go leave them alone. So I can.
It's a great point.
So then I can stay in my fixation.
That is such a good point, because she, yes, we've talked about this before, literally rewired the brain and the nervous system to be like, oh, giving him space is being giving and nice. And that's so beautiful. That is really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily like what I actually literally went and did EFT tapping, and I, figured out all these ways that I felt abandoned emotionally as a child. And
that was the rewiring process.
And yes. And then then it became like, oh, I want to give my partner space. And then when I got to be by myself and I was actually like paying attention to my own needs, it was like, I need space too, and I didn't even know. So it all works out. Which
is the path to freedom, by the way. Well, freedom is the holy path of the type 2. They want freedom from this fixation of feeling like they always have to take care of other people's needs. So see how our relationship and conscious communication gave me the space I wanted and actually directly addressed her path to freedom. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't always feel good.
No, it felt bad. It
doesn't feel
sad.
Good.
At first I was very hurt when you told me you needed space. And then I realized, well, it doesn't make any sense to try and force your love on someone who doesn't want it. So I guess I better, figure myself out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right, that was great. Thank you for that stimulating question, Zaris.
We're almost done with our time. We have about 6 more minutes to chat, 5 more minutes to chat. I don't know if you finished your part of the story about how you discovered Enneagram, but then how have you how have you integrated your ego? How have you become a more functional version of your type?
Yeah, what's interesting is I met Kate before you.
Right before me.
Right before you.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if I was doing that transformational world works yet or not.
You were.
I must have been in it when Kate and I talked about it. You're welcome, Armando. You better come on next time.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Every Thursday at 6.
I would love to have guests of each type. That would be fun.
So, how to integrate from that point of self-realization? I think I had already had a relationship with myself in the form of journaling. So when I just introduced new information into it, it was just like, oh God, I have all this context to be like, this is actually what was happening in my life. And again, the big humbling, pride swallowing moment for me was to realize how much I was putting on a show of bravado and just, I was very insecure and scared. I didn't trust myself, and I was constantly looking for advice outside myself and putting my trust in people that did not deserve my trust. I ruined a relationship, honestly, by overly trusting this person, even though their guidance was always amazing. I think I got too clingy with this person, and then when things didn't go well, I was too much of a coward to communicate in the moment. It was cowardice. So, and resentment, right? Resentment had built up for sure by stepping over a lot of stuff. So, look, my holy path and holy idea from the Enneagram were trust, holy idea, and path, courage. And Enneagram made it very easy for me to go look at the things in my life that I was scared of and say, okay, I'm only scared because I don't know what to do and I feel like I don't have the proper guidance. So all I can do is where I'm at in this moment. What do I think is the decision? Make the decision and do it. Sometimes I fucked up badly and it hurt, and sometimes I got it right. And that's where courage kicked in. Because it took courage to trust myself, but trusting myself was the whole point. Learning to so they go together.
Yes. By
being courageous and being scared and moving forward anyway, I learned to trust and hone my intuition. And as it turns out,
you have great intuition.
I have pretty good I think I have great intuition.
You do. You absolutely do.
So how does the military mindset figure into the Enneagram? Casey asks.
That's a good question for your type 6.
So type 6s are kind of a stereotypical military cop type, by the way. So the military mindset's very much type 6, although ironically, sort of, type 6s rarely make like the best officers, and especially higher ranking officers, because they lack that trust in themselves. So because 6s lack trust in themselves, they're very loyal to higher authority, especially higher authority that has competence to it, like the military. So the military kind of likes its rank and file soldiers to be type 6s because they're just going to do what they're told more than any other type. And so as a junior officer, that was fine. But really, if I had ever wanted to become senior or the captain of a ship, I would have had to go through this kind of mega spiritual transformation to become a warship captain. I don't know if I would have made it if I had stayed in the military. I had to go through it outside as a civilian where I had the space to do emotional work. You have space in the military to do emotional work. So it's just the military mindset is very much a type 6 mindset. And type 6s are also known for always looking for problems in the environment. So I was excellent at that. And obviously that's a great skill set in war, to be able to look out and be like, we got a problem here, we got a problem there, we got a problem here, we got a problem there. I was great at it. So all that acknowledgement and rewarding of my ability only reinforced my ego fixation, which is very common with veterans and PTSD, and we don't talk about it in this language, but that is so often what is happening. People who go into the military get their ego fixation rewarded.
Right.
But then the military officers that are maybe more like type 8s and type 3s and just high energy, success driven, they make it to the top.
Yeah.
There are pitfalls to those types, but so I think that gives you a good answer.
I mean, even just military mindset in general. I mean, when I think of the military, I think of it as a all-encompassing super authority. That's like the mindset, is the super authority, super
ego,
super ego, and then also like super fortified institution. So in some ways, I think all 9 types can fit their fixation into something, some sort of duty in the military. I mean, type 2s looking, supporting needs, finding needs, serving, helping, doing that. A type 9 I could see would surrender all of their desires, all of their needs, all of their opinions to the higher authority and just follow orders.
Type 9s would go along with the program.
Right? A type 8, like he said, might become, an enlisted, might turn into an NCO, might become an officer. A type 3 might do that as well.
Yeah.
A type 4 is, it'd be interesting to figure out what exactly they would do, but maybe some sort of
they would probably crumble and drop out of boot camp.
Yeah, they might not like that very much, that situation. It's too the military mindset is too much about conforming and becoming so similar to your brother. The soldiers are all the same kind of thing, and type 4s need to feel unique and special a lot of the time, so I don't know if that would work for them. Type 5s, I mean, if they're really smart and they got a really high test on their what do you call it, that entrance test that you all take, they probably would become an intelligence person, and I mean, gosh, they'd probably be great at it because it's all about collecting information. And I'm just going through all the types. Type 6, duty oriented, super loyal. Type 7, I'm not sure. A type 7, a combat veteran might have a great time. Type 7.
Oh, I'm sure type 7s do well in the military.
Super high highs and super low lows, right? You're like on your adrenaline rush probably in a lot of those situations.
So I actually think a lot of that, like, what's the word? Not morbid humor, but macabre, is that?
Yeah, macabre.
A lot of that typical infantry soldier humor is very type 7-ish to me, because they like telling stories and making fun of the shitty situations they're in. It's a very type 7
And then type
thing.
1s are so concerned about what's right. So they're going to uphold rules. They're going to follow orders. They're going to make sure that people uphold whatever they feel is the rules.
Oh, I have a friend who's about to be a warship captain who's a type 1. But type 1s, because they're perfectionists, and you have to be perfectionist at running a nuclear power plant that goes underwater.
Yeah.
So it works for him.
Totally.
One thing I wanted to say about the Enneagram, this is like the broad of what you just said, to sum up what you just said. You just went through all the types, but the Enneagram figure, you have the 9 sitting at the top with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8 on another side. So I tell people to look at it as a map. And unless anyone asks any other questions, we'll sum up with this.
Yeah, that's good.
The 1, 2, 3, 4 are the obedient types.
Mm-hmm.
They are more trying to not blend in, but go with what society. So 1s are perfectionists, 2 are giving, 3 are image conscious achievers, and 4s are romantics. But they're all more mainstream.
We want to fit in. We want to
fitting in mainstream, perhaps.
We want people to like us. Want to feel worthy.
Yeah, and now the 5, 6, 7, 8s are considered defiant types. So, as a 6, as a defiant type, it's weird, right? It's called the loyalist. I'm loyal, but it's actually loyal skepticism. I want to be defiant, but I'm scared to be defiant. That's what happens at type 6.
The skeptic is looking for
doesn't trust the authority.
In the authority.
The 7 doesn't trust the 5, 6s, and 7s don't trust the authority, but it's mainly a 6 thing.
Yeah.
So my point is this: 9, the nature of the 9 fixation, atop straddling the 2, is they're trapped, and they don't really like. Oh, I don't know what to do. So they don't do anything. They just kind of blend in with whatever happens to be around them at the moment.
Out.
So
their energy gets.
What I'm reading is from this book. One side is obedient, and therefore the obedience can make them angry. And the other side is defiant, and the defiance can make them scared. The 9s are trapped between obedience and defiance, vacillating between compliance, which produces rage, and non-compliance, which produces fear. So in the ego, compliance can bring anger. So the ego's like, I have to go along with this. And then non-compliance, the ego gets scared. So the ego is grasping for control, grasping for love. And when they don't get it and they're one of the compliant types, they get angry. And when they don't get it and they're one of the non-compliant types, they get scared. So that's a very interesting, broad way to look at it.
Yeah. Cool. That was just sort of a hodgepodge of Enneagram info. Next week.
Yeah, that last bit I went through quickly.
Here, real quick, why don't you just tell everybody about your program one more time, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, look, I won't share screen of the whole website again or anything, but for real, I have, let's see, we got William dropping in just to share some love.
William's a type 1.
William, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh God, what am I trying to do here?
I don't know. You were going to tell everybody about your Journaling to Destiny course, which starts in September.
Look, September 20th, all right? Journaling to Destiny starts on September 20th. It's 4 weeks, intuitiveintegrity.com/destiny. This is the new course I wrote that covers all the basics and fundamentals of what intuitive integrity is, how that system works, how a journaling practice can actually refine you, actually guide you through it step by step. What is actually happening? What are benchmarks to look for as you have a relationship with yourself? You don't have to literally keep a journal all the time for this course, because I'm walking you through the nature of a relationship with self and integration and making oneself whole. So if you're interested, just go to that website and check it out. You know how to get a hold of me here. It's not an expensive course. It's $149. I'm going to be guiding personally the whole way through. It's a real chance to take some ground in your life. Try journaling if you've never journaled. And if you have journaled, realize I think
this is the next level of journaling.
Yeah, I'm really onto something that I haven't seen anywhere else. I'll put it that way. And I'm ready to show it to the world. And that's that.
That's that.
So
sweet. Thank you, babe. That's wonderful. That's really it. That's what we got for now. If you want anything from me, you know where to find me as well.
Next week going to be Enneagram?
Next week we're going to do, I think we should do more Enneagram, but we'll, I think we should go over the holy paths and the holy ways.
We went over all like the subconscious fears and what the types are scared of. Let's get into like what taking action looks like when you start working with the Enneagram.
Yeah, let's just go through
what is the
types
system again. like calling these things holy ideas and holy paths or virtues and higher minds, and
let's go over that.
Conceptualize your growth out of the ego fixation. We'll start going through that next week.
Sweet. Okay, cool. All right, everybody. We love you all. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Nice to see a lot of you here. Thanks for dropping in and leaving a message.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.